Welcome everyone to the Business of Coaching. This is Vic Ballara, your host for this video blog on the 6 keys to winning proposals. I am a certified master coach. Many of you know me from the work that I do with IPEC as a facilitator of PSIG groups, or through the LinkedIn groups or the posts that I have entered into the Energy Leadership Forum, which I highly recommend that you check out every now and then. There's lots of good stuff there. So let's begin. You may or may not have seen this survey. These are the biggest barriers to coaching as reported by ICF Global study, July of last year. And if you look at this, you really wonder how we ever sell coaching into corporations. Or it may also explain why it's so difficult. So ROI really close to the top, time being the biggest barrier, money followed ROI, and then linking coaching to the business strategy. I would like to posit a theory here, and I have a lot of research to back it up, and that is if you're successful in linking coaching outcomes to the business strategy and measuring that in terms of the return on investment or return on expectations, money and time go away. So these 6 keys to winning proposals help you solve these biggest barriers to coaching. And they follow the same methodology that we just talked about. And I know your client, know your niche. You've heard that. You participated in studies. You know how important that is. I just want to reiterate the fact that the closer you are to your ideal client, the pain that they are experiencing, the issues and concerns, as well as understanding how the solutions you provide solve those problems, that's the real first key, first step to being able to win the proposal battle, if you will. The second step, and we'll talk about this, is understanding trends. What are organizations facing today? What are the biggest challenges that CEOs, CFOs, and Chief HR Officers are experiencing? And a third step at the very foundation of all of this is being able to speak the language. Can you talk coherently about value, return on investment, business strategy, business outcomes, profit margin, productivity, all of the things that are at the top of the list of CFOs, CEOs, and Chief HR Officers. And then I think something that we don't always think about, and that is value comes before cost. So if a client says, okay, Vic, how much does this cost? I never answer that question. I acknowledge how important it is to their decision-making process, and I ask them politely if they would hold on to that question for just a few more minutes. If they persist, then I might say something like, well, I can guarantee you that when we're done with this conversation, this meeting, this presentation, that you will see the value that this program will offer your corporation in terms that will justify the investment and provide a meaningful ROI for both you and for my business. And that usually does the trick. But then you have to deliver on the promise, and you have to link the value that comes as a result of the programs you provide to the strategic business outcomes of the business that's important to them. And then the granddaddy of all is being able to measure return on expectations or return on investment. If you do these 6 steps, you will win pretty much 8 out of 10 proposals that you present. So understanding what coaching provides, we all know this is one of the keys. Well, it provides greater self-awareness, of course. Energy Leadership, the program, will provide increased energy. It helps clients overcome obstacles. It improves employee engagement, and this is data right out of Gallup, and if you look at this, this is really depressing. It hasn't changed in 14, 15 years, and yet companies spend $1 billion a year trying to improve employee engagement. Or, one of the things that we provide is this safe harbor for our clients so that they could leave their comfort zone, explore their dreams, look at challenges, being able to push themselves. These are all great coaching outcomes, but they don't relate to the business. And if you're talking in this kind of a language, you're talking like a coach and not an executive within a corporation. So you really need to speak their language. In order to do that, you have to understand what's on their mind. And so here are the typical issues that come out of research around what keeps executives up at night. So CEOs are concerned about profits, shareholder value, reducing costs, fear of acquisition. If the company gets acquired, I'm out of a job, which leads to loss of control. So you need to understand how coaching their leaders, coaching the CEO might help might not eliminate these issues, but eliminate their concerns or give them strategies for eliminating them. Chief HR officer, not too different. Turnover, productivity, engagement. But more importantly, they need to be really fearful of losing their high performers. And I almost always ask that question. What's your turnover like among high performers? And I'll guarantee you 90% say they really don't know. And that's a big issue. Because if they lose high performers, it could cost 4 to 5 times their salary to replace them and get them up to that level. CFOs also worried about cost, reducing risk, impact of M&A, mergers and acquisitions, labor costs going up. And then the chief marketing officer, increased competition, lack of innovation, maybe product failures, new market expansion. These are all pain points that you need to understand and begin to relate coaching outcomes to it. Now, we know that disengaged leaders is a problem. We've known this ever since IPEC released their first research study, that when you see leaders with E-factor scores in the low 3s, they're not engaged. Well, this was the first time that Gallup ever said that leaders are not engaged, 65%. And so it only reaffirms that we've got really great research coming out of IPEC, but it also tells the organization that this is why engagement is flat, because the leaders aren't engaged. The next key is learning that new language and really understanding value, the value that your clients or the corporations receive. And you can see in the scale that you're adding value, and you need to add value in excess of whatever the investment is or price that they pay. And this is a quote from Warren Buffett. Price is what they pay, value is what they received, and value we want to talk about as clearly defined outcomes. And that other wise person, me, said ROI is how we measure that value. So again, speaking their language, understanding their pain points, what are the key business outcomes that drive them? And productivity is always at the top. And certainly there are others, efficiencies, responsiveness, customer service or customer satisfaction, profitability, but productivity is almost always at the top, especially when you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and you find out that productivity throughout the U.S. grows at about 1%. So I always like to help clients imagine a future that would be different than what they're currently experiencing. What would it look like if your organization achieved 25% greater productivity? And often some of the answers are, well, we could overcome obstacles, barriers we could get around, increase sales, increase profit. Our stock might go up. We could acquire other businesses. We could hire more people. We could share the wealth. Market share grows. Revenue grows. Profit grows. So I really want to hammer in that vision and have them think forwardly about what it would look like and what they could do with 25% greater productivity. Now, Peter Drucker has been labeled as one of the foremost management experts in the world forever. Unfortunately, he died back in 2005, just shy of his 96th birthday. But he wrote articles on management and corporate business strategies for the Harvard Business Review and the Wall Street Journal for more than 20 years. He holds 25 honorary doctorates from a variety of institutions around the world. And locally, he was inspirational, motivational, and most capable in developing the, in California, the MBA program for working professionals at Claremont University, which became known as the Claremont Graduate School, now called the Peter F. Drucker Graduate School of Management, back in 1987. And he was known, why am I talking about him so much? Well, if you mention Peter Drucker, pretty much anyone will nod their heads. And Drucker said that a 10% increase in productivity would double the profits of most organizations. So keep that 10% number in mind. 10% increase, double profits. So that would be another question to ask is, what would your company look like, or what could you do with double your current profit margins? So the last and foremost important key is measuring the impact of coaching. And there are 5 levels, and in the master class called The Business of Coaching, I go over not only all 5 levels, but strategies on how to measure the impact of coaching at each level. Now, most organizations or most coaches will do some sort of a level 1 evaluation. That's the typically provided axis. And it's, did they like it? The second level requires a little bit more effort. Did they learn anything? So it's a pre and post assessment. What's really demanded by CEOs or CFOs at the bottom is a level 5. So ROI is the king of the mountain, so to speak. So that vision, when we said what would it look like if you had 25% greater productivity, this is the bottom line. This is what I've published 6 case studies, and the ROI, return on investment, has ranged from 4 all the way to 11. So in this case, this individual experienced 150% increase in engagement, unlike what Gallup reports over the last 15 years, a 43% increase in productivity. So remember, Drucker said 10% is like doubling profits. Well, if we could increase productivity 40%, that would be like 8 times greater profits. And who wouldn't want that? In this case, 50% increased communication skills or enhanced communication skills. And spiritual connections, and some people have problems with that phrase, but spiritual connection is all about purposefulness, finding purpose in what you do and at work. And so in this case, this individual found 60%, 67%. So, and these are tools that I provide my clients, my coaching clients, so that they can do pre and post ELIs and measure similarly the return on investment. So, short, sweet, hopefully of value. For more tools and information, you can go to energy-leadership-coach. I have programs, I have templates, I have reports you can access, as well as special programs with discounts as high as 75%. So thank you again for taking your time out of your busy schedule. I am Vic Valera and hope to talk to you soon.